Hello everybody. Today we are going to be talking about how to divide integers. And so we already talked about how we can multiply integers, and when we divide we use the same rules that we talked about when we multiply. And what I'm talking about here is that when you divide a negative divided by a negative, your answer is going to be negative. And when you divide a negative divided by a positive, your answer is going to be negative. Same thing here, when you do a positive divided by a negative, you're still going to get a negative. So same kind of thing as when we multiplied. All right, so let's get into an example. So the first one says to simplify negative 27 divided by negative 3. So first things first, I have a negative divided by a negative, so I know my answer here is going to be positive. That's my first thing I want to keep in mind. Now, there's two ways you can go about solving a division problem with integers. So we first can think about, we could do our division house. What we're dividing by always goes on the outside. So we have, I'm going to take out the negatives in this case because I already know my answer is going to be positive. So I'm just going to have 3 on the outside and 27 on the inside. And in this case, we're just going to go ahead and divide. So 27 divided by 3 is 9. And there is nothing left over because 9 times 3 actually is 27. So my answer here is positive 9. So whenever you're dividing, you can think about doing it in the division house just like I showed you. That would be step 1. Or the second way, or not step, first way. The second way we can do this is to think about it in terms of multiplication. So in this case, you have negative 3. You're going to say, what times negative 3? That's a bad question mark. Let me try that again. What times, not really sure if that's much better, guys. What times negative 3 equals negative 27? So in this case, we just asked ourselves, well, what times negative 3 equals negative 27? If you have to do repeated addition, you can start counting up by 3s. 3, 6, 9. If you need to, or if you already know off the top of your head. So negative 3 times positive 9 would get us to negative 27. This is the other way that we could do it there. So either way, we get the same answer of positive 9. Let's try another one. Example 2, simplify negative 56 divided by negative 8. So first, I'm going to try this using first of all, the first thing I'm going to actually do, let me back up here. We have a negative divided by a negative, so my answer here is going to be positive. That's my first step that I want to do. Second thing is to actually divide here. Again, you can do your division house. What you're dividing by always goes on the outside. So now we need to think about how many times can 8 go into 56, which it goes in 7 times. There's nothing left over because 8 times 7 actually is 56. So your answer here would be 7. The second way that you could do this, again, is to think about what times negative 8 equals negative 56. Again, if you're not sure here, you can start counting up by 8s. You could do 8, 16, 24, all the way until you get to 56. So negative 8 times what? Times positive 7 is going to equal negative 56. So either way, you would get your answer of positive 7. All right, let's try another one. Example 3, which of the quotients, that's also a key term here. Whenever you see the word quotient, this means to divide. Quotient is just another term for division. So which of the quotients are equivalent to negative 4.5? So the first thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to use a process of elimination first, because I know my answer is going to be negative. So the first thing I want to look through here is, are there any quotients, are there any division that when we would divide, we would actually get a positive, which would mean that it would not be equivalent. So let's start here. So we have negative 18 over 4. If we divide this out, you're still going to be left with a negative. Our second one, you have a negative divided by a positive. A negative divided by a positive is a negative. I'm going to abbreviate here. The third one, you have a positive divided by a negative. Positive divided by a negative is still negative. Our fourth one, we have a negative divided by a negative, which would make a positive. So in this case, we know right off the bat here, this one is not going to be equivalent because our answer here, like I said, is going to be negative. So this one's not equivalent. All right, next one, number 5, is it? Negative 18 divided by negative 4. Negative divided by negative makes a positive. So again, process of elimination, this one is not equivalent. Second to last one, positive divided by a positive. That's going to make a positive. So this one, again, is not equivalent. And last one, a positive divided by a negative is going to be a negative, so that's still a possible situation. I'm going to go ahead and just cross these ones off because I know these are not options here. So I only have 4 left, and I want to go back and actually start dividing and see, are these possibilities? So the first one, negative 18 divided by 4. That's how we could rewrite it as an equation if you want to visualize a little bit better. Again, your 2 ways to do this. You could see what times 4 equals negative 18, or you could set up your division house if you wanted to. You would have 4 on the outside and 18 on the inside. Either way, when we start dividing here, I'm going to start using my division house. How many times can 4 go into 18? It can go in 4 times. 4 times 4 is 16, so I'm going to subtract 16 here. And I have 2 left over. 18 minus 16 is 2. We don't want to do a remainder. We actually want to finish this division problem. So what I have to do next is add a decimal so that I can add a 0. Whenever you add decimal, you always want to bring it up above the division house so you don't lose your decimal placing. And then I'm going to bring down this 0. So now I have how many times can 4 go into 20, which is actually 5. So 4.5, that's my answer. And a negative divided by a positive is a negative. So my answer here is negative 4.5. So this one is equivalent. Negative 18 divided by 4. Now, the second one looks very, very similar, except instead of the negative being on the outside of the parentheses, it's just on the 18. So when you go ahead and divide these, this is just saying the same thing. Negative 18 divided by 4, you're still going to get negative 4.5. So this one is also equivalent. The only thing that they're doing here is showing that the negative can be in a different placing. It's still the same answer. Our third one here, we have a positive 18 divided by 4. We've already done 18 divided by 4, you guys. We've already done 18 divided by 4 right here. And we got 4.5. So all we're really looking for here is the negative sign. And a positive divided by a negative is a negative. And we're looking for negative 4.5. So, oops, I'm sorry, I forgot which color I was using. So this one also is equivalent. Positive 18 divided by negative 4. And then our last one here is 4 divided by negative 18. So this is a little bit of a different one. The first 3 were 18 divided by 4. This is 4 divided by 18. So let's try this out. Again, what you could do is start with your division house. So the denominator always goes on the outside, and your numerator goes on the inside. Again, if you wanted to write this out visually as an equation to help you see it, it would be 4 divided by negative 18. So 18 cannot go into 4. So right off the bat, what I have to do is add a decimal so I can add a 0. And now I have how many times can 18 go into 40, which is 2 times, because 18 times 2 is 36. I can actually stop myself here though, because if you guys notice, our answer was 4 holes, 4.5. I don't even have a hole here. I have a 0.2 something because I haven't actually finished out my problem. So right off the bat, I can already tell myself I don't even need to finish this division problem because I know that there's no holes. It's not anywhere near close to my answer. So 4 divided by negative 18 is not equivalent. So if you ever see problems like this, the first thing that you should do is process of elimination. Use your negative signs to eliminate some answers to make it a bit easier on yourself, and then go straight into the division so you can see which ones are equivalent and which ones are